Hello and welcome to all the Helians out there. I'm Joe, here with my co-host Dan.
Hello and greetings.
And we've got a new video for you all. If the audio sounds weird, it's because this is our first Zelda video where we're on opposite sides of the Pacific. So do bear that in mind. Now, that said, the topic is Ganon versus Ganondorf in a way. And I wanted to discuss this because there was a post on Twitter where someone was, I think, praising Ganondorf. And what I said was, well, actually, what he was doing was he was saying, name one thing you can criticize about Ocarina of Time. And I forget what he said. I think it was something about Majora's Mask. Not the game itself, but just some of the reactions around it. And I ended up commenting that we kind of lost Demon King Ganon because of Ganondorf. And this is not to say I don't like Ganondorf. No, the character has merit. I mean, in Ocarina of Time, he's really well written. And I even kind of think he has some merit in, to an extent, I guess, like some of the ideas around him in Tears of the Kingdom, although I didn't like that game, have merit. But what I would like is a return to Ganon. Because the Demon King, in his pig form, that's the classic image of Ganon from the original 3 games. And the thing is, he's occasionally appeared in that shape a few other times, but I really think that Twilight Princess, for example, should have leaned more into that image than Ganondorf, for example. And I also think that maybe in future games, it might be better to go back to Ganon, because the pig form shows him for what he is, a gluttonous, demonic force of evil. And while he does certainly look evil as Ganondorf, I just prefer him as the Demon King. Thoughts, Dan?
I certainly do miss the pig form. And as much as the first time I watched my older brother play Ocarina of Time, I was impressed by how imposing Ganondorf was.
Mm-hmm.
And sure, at the end of the game, when Ganon comes out...
Oh yeah, in Ocarina of Time, Ganon appears. And it's really... It is a great image. Don't get me wrong. That's something that I think Ocarina of Time did really, really well. And it's just that I think that the trouble is that sort of image of him has been lost to Ganondorf, because I think Ganondorf in some ways did prove more popular. And this is not to say that I'm opposed to that popularity. I'm just a little more I just think there's room for both to an extent. But I also think that where Ganon, excuse me, where Ganon kind of faded away to an extent, in place of Ganondorf, I think that Ganondorf has kind of, like in Ocarina of Time, he's great, but outside of Ocarina of Time, it feels like he's a little watered down compared to Ganon, just a little. He's still a good character and a good villain. It's just, I think that Ganon is when he unveils what he truly is deep down. And I like the idea that evil the nature of his corruption has twisted him. It's reminiscent of how Melkor became Morgoth, and how Morgoth is really him taking physical shape, sure, but it's also him giving fully into his corruption, into his wicked nature, his avarice, and his gluttony, and his wrath and pride. Just as, say, um, you have Arthas becoming the Lich King. That is the Death Knight Arthas, or Ner'zhul, truly giving in to his corruption so that his body and his uh, spirit is becoming more and more poisoned and twisted. And you can see it. There's something in literature about the physical perversion of a wicked individual, that they become less and less human in a way, and less pleasant to look upon. And that is certainly what happens when Ganondorf becomes Ganon. Sure, he looks wicked as Ganondorf, but he looks positively inhuman and disgusting as Ganon, because he's become literally a pig. But I kind of like the idea that he's not entirely aware of how far he's fallen, that he's not entirely aware that this shape is misshapen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he's really in a way the shadow magician, and the shadow magician archetype is one who's prone to lying to others to get his way. Like there's a Japanese proverb: if you lie, you'll become a thief. Well, Ganon is a liar and did become a thief. But remember that this archetype, the one who believes their lies the most is themselves. So that Ganon's lies have literally turned back and rebounded against him. And so he's lying to himself as much as he is the external world around him. And I just like the idea that he's become twisted by these lies and by his own, um, like I said, gluttons. Because I do think he's gluttonous in a way. He grabs on to something and destroys it. He's probably the one fantasy character I will compare the most to Scar from Lion King.
That's actually a very good comparison.
Yeah, because Scar grabbed a hold of the Pride Lands and ravaged it, and nothing could ever sate his appetite. Same with Ganondorf, with Hyrule in the timelines where he grabbed, well, the adult slash ruined timeline, I should say. And I think that the thing about the Ganon shape, like when he takes on the shape of Ganon, what I like to think of it as is there's no going back for him. He can't return to a human shape. I prefer that idea. And so stories set in the future after Ocarina of Time should depict him as wholly pig formed. And that, like he's basically been misshapen and twisted from the inside out. And nothing will ever sate that appetite of his. That being said, the child timeline is where it gets a little tricky because I'm not sure where that one, like whether you can do the pig form, because technically in that timeline, Ganon never went into becoming Ganon. So like Twilight Princess, while I would prefer them to, well, I do like that they did show, I think, the pig form, but uh, they could get away with not having it to an extent because of the way the timeline works. But adult timeline, like Wind Waker, there's no excuse for Ganondorf being present. Same with the Ruined timeline. That's my point. Like, on the other hand, in Child timeline, he does go pig form in Twilight Princess, so he does become Ganon. And I guess that's just my point. I just think we've lost out on something, on a great manifestation of evil in a way. Any last thoughts?
As much as there are a lot of things that are new that can be good, we shouldn't forget the classics.
Yeah, yeah,
That's my view on Ganon and Ganondorf.
yeah. Like, there's nothing wrong with liking Ganondorf as a villain. He has his merits. Like I said, I really like him in Ocarina of Time. I just like Demon King Ganon a lot better, or a lot more. But anyways, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash that like and that subscribe button, and to also check out our book over on Amazon, The Crown of Blood, which is an anthology about a pretty bloody Scottish civil war. Well, Scottish fantasy civil war.